The warning systems worked, and most buildings were still standing. But even before the quake had finished, everyone in Japan knew worse was to come. There were only minutes before a tsunami would arrive. The question now was how many would escape in time. On March the 11th, 2011, the billions Tokyo had invested in quake-proof engineering and early warning systems proved their worth. They saved the city's structures and its people. Then, the tsunami struck. The tsunami was triggered by the explosive energy release of the earthquake, 100 kilometers off the coast. What caused it? Over centuries, the Japanese side of the tectonic fault line had been compressed and dragged downwards by the Pacific plate driving beneath it.
The whole upper plate behaves just basically like a rubber block. It just compresses, and like a spring like this, and when the earthquake happens, it springs back.
The sudden upward flip of such a huge slab of rock lifted a 6-kilometer deep mass of water upwards to the surface of the sea. As it collapsed back, immense waves raced out across the ocean. Not like normal sea waves, more like shock waves from an explosion. Just a meter high, but over 100 kilometers from front to back, and traveling at terrifying speed.
The energy heaved up the sea floor. That displaced vast amount of water that we can see made it its way on land. It made its way off around the Pacific.
One side of the wave hurtled out across the Pacific. The other side raced towards the coast of Japan.
Tsunamis travel very fast at a speed that depends on the water depth. And because in the deep ocean, tsunami travels very fast, reaching at times the speed of a jet aircraft.
At over 800 kilometers per hour, the wave took just minutes to reach the coast. Here, the shallower sea floor slowed down the front of the wave. The wave's fast-moving rear was still racing in. It began to catch up with the front. The increasing pressure pushed the seawater up into a rising swell. Five kilometers out to sea, a Coast Guard crew captured this extraordinary footage. The tsunami rearing up as the water beneath it grew shallower. Then, when they crested the first wave, a second loomed behind. The swell became a breaking wave as the rear of the wave continues to pile in, sucking in the sea ahead of it.
The very first thing that seems to have happened is that the sea left the land, and some of the footage we've seen shows a huge shoreline being exposed, and then the tsunami built up offshore, and the dynamics of the wave carried it inland. Probably a cubic kilometer of water just splashed landward and kept going until it ran out of steam.
These remarkable pictures caught the moment when the sea pulled back as the first wave roared in. The tsunami had arrived. The wave's effect was strangely unpredictable. At first glance, it seemed there was no discernible pattern to where it struck and when. First came Ofunatu in the north. then Sendai to the south, and Miyako in the north again. Measurements from tsunami monitoring stations along the coast were equally puzzling. The height of the wave varied dramatically from town to town. But why?